One of the most important questions for retirement planning is how much you're going to spend. And if you don't get that right, you might end up spending too little or working too long or spending too much, which could make you run out of money. But there's an easy way to figure out how much you really spend without doing any budgeting or categorizing your expenses. And your current spending is often a good place to start. By this point in life, maybe you don't do any budgeting and maybe you don't need to. After all, if your finances are in good shape, maybe you're, saving a little bit of money, you're avoiding going into debt, you're spending enough to actually enjoy yourself, maybe all is reasonably well. Now, a lot of people just use round numbers when it comes to their retirement planning. They say they want to spend 5,000 or 10,000 a month or whatever it is, but those round numbers are almost certainly not realistic. So, how can we do better than that? The best way to know how much you really spend is a top-down spending review. That approach looks at all of your income and it figures out if some of the money went somewhere. And we don't necessarily know or care at this stage exactly, specifically where it went, but we want to know if you spent it on something. Then we might assume that in retirement, you'll spend at a similar level. And of course, some things are going to change and we'll address that. But your current spending is a great place to start. To use this approach, take your total income, then reduce that by any savings you've done or taxes you've paid, and the rest of it is money you spent on something. For a basic overview of how this looks, let's assume that you make $100,000 per year, but at your job, you're saving $30,000, just a flat 30 to keep it simple in the 401k pre-tax, so that leaves $70,000 that you have something to do with. Plus, you have to pay payroll taxes. Those are taken out of your paycheck automatically, which brings down your income. That's going to be another $7,650. The federal income tax, single person, not yet 65, might be roughly $7,000, close enough, leaving you with actual money to spend of $55,350. So the question becomes, did you add additional money to any savings accounts? Did you make IRA contributions? That sort of thing with the remaining $55,350? Well, assume the answer is no. So in this case, we can say that you spent $55,350. We don't know exactly where it went, how much of that was on your groceries, for example, but the money went somewhere, which is a critical piece of information for your top-down spending estimate. With that information, then you would put into your plan that your goal is to spend after taxes $55,350 or so, and then we're maybe going to adjust that for things that might change. And another way to look at this might be to look at just a sample pay stub and take a look at how it really works. So your earnings for a given period are a certain amount. It's $1,500 in this example. Then they have your year-to-date amount. And then you've got these deductions, before tax deductions. So some retirement plans, various insurance products that you may have purchased voluntarily, for example. And you've got after-tax deductions, or maybe you were making certain types of contributions to certain plans. And you've got taxes. So those are withheld. You've got federal, maybe state, Social Security and Medicare. So you can see that of your gross earnings, the $1,500 here, the amount that you're actually going to get is going to be less than that after all of these deductions. So this could be a shortcut to help you figure out, out of your gross income, how much went into the retirement plan, how much went to some of the taxes. But remember that your withholding is just an estimate, and that might not be the exact amount. So you would want to go back to your tax returns and figure out, was that the accurate amount? It's also critical to remember that your taxes are going to look different in retirement. You've got full control over what's going on once you're in retirement, and you might need some money, and so it's going to generate some taxable income, but it's different from your working years when you just get your pay and that's what it is. So in retirement, things look a little different. Are you drawing from pre-tax accounts? Are you on Social Security yet or not? How much, if any, of that is taxable? These are all things you'll need to look into. Now, what are some things that might change? So you figured out how much you spend now, but things might be different in retirement. For example, you're not going to be commuting, so that could look different. Maybe you're going to pay off your mortgage at some point. That might be several years or many years into retirement, or maybe even before you retire. At that point, your payment would change. You'd still have taxes and insurance, but not the principal and interest portion of the loan. So that's going to be a lower expense for you. Maybe you'll have irregular expenses like a new vehicle or home repairs every couple of years. You have to figure out how to deal with that. Are you going to build it in as a monthly expense or put it in as a big lump from time to time? These are all things to think about. So you also want to be mindful as you're looking at how much it says you spend. It should capture everything, even things that you didn't think about. However, it might not capture things that are every couple of years. So be sure to look at expenses that might come up that didn't get caught in your most recent top down estimate. So maybe you want to do a couple of years or at least look back through your statements and see, did you make big expenditures on various things? Another thing that'll change is health coverage. You'll likely be responsible for making those payments yourself. And so your employer is no longer just handling everything for you. Make sure you figure out how much it might cost both before and after Medicare starts. And something people often miss is the reality of how people spend money in retirement. It just doesn't necessarily go in lockstep with inflation. You might have various spending patterns like the go go, slow go, and no go years, or perhaps just spending at a rate that goes a little bit slower than inflation, also known as the retirement spending smile. Check out the video popping up for more on all of that. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please leave a quick thumbs up, and I look forward to talking with you soon.